Okay, I'm so excited to do this today. So this week I did my first TEDx talk.
Please join me in welcoming our first speaker, Tania Wallace, speaking on the process of passion.
It was really cool. In my presentation, I show clips of how awesome and incredible it is to have passion. And then I also show the other side, when you hit the roadblocks and what that looks like.
Are the highs worth this? I don't know.
Okay, so it went well, and I'm really excited to have it recorded here because this is such an awesome subject. I mean, passion, who doesn't want more passion? And so I thought I would create this video so that I could have something sooner than waiting for it to go through their whole publishing process. So what the topic is how to find your passion. And where this topic originated from is last year I did a speech for the SEU entrepreneurship department, and I was giving it on the highs and the lows of running a business. And during that, I talked about how important it is to be passionate about your business or to have a passion. And then afterwards, one of the students came up to me and he's like, "This is great. Everybody talks about that you need to have a passion, but how do you find a passion?" And that's where I sat back and I was like, how do I find my passions? I have a lot of passions and I am extremely passionate about those things. And so over the next year, what I've been trying to do is break that down into a process. So I'd ask people and I'd say, okay, what does passion look like to you? And everybody had a little bit of a different point of view on it. Some passion was very specific to hobbies. Other people passion was more of their careers. Some passion was the things that they were doing at home or with their families. And so I want to ask you, if you had more passion in your life, what would that look like? What would that feel like? And then if you had less passion in your life, what would that look like and what would that feel like? My purpose that I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to inspire people to have more passion, because I believe passion is what gives us that energy when we wake up. Passion adds a little bit of the color in our days that we need. Passion to me is that those butterflies in your stomach that just want to explode. And then when you're working on something, that's where you're just focused in. So it's all of those emotions that just make you feel like you have a purpose. So what I did is I asked a whole group of people and I said, okay, send me a video, a short video of what passion looks like to you. So I have created this video here. I love this video because what it does is it makes me excited to get out and to do something. And so what I'm hoping is at the end of this talk that you are inspired to either further your current passion or find one. So to the process, what I've done is I've broken up how to find your passion within 5 different parts. So this first part is curiosity. So just think about that word curiosity. It is such a fantastic word. So curiosity to me is when I get a new National Geographic magazine in the mail and I open it up and there's so many things to explore within there. It's when you start when you start talking to people and you have all of this inspiration or ideas. Curiosity is the start of letting your mind be open. So how do you be curious? We learned a term a couple of years ago called broadening your horizons. So a horizon, right, is about as far as you can see. So a typical person takes the same route to work or to school every day. They're talking to the same group of people, reading similar articles or similar books, and they have their favorite YouTube channels. And so they're within a current routine or comfort zone that they stay in. And so when you broaden your horizons, you're deliberately disrupting your zone. For me, traveling is the fastest way to disrupt this. When you travel, you're going somewhere new. You're having to take different kinds of transportation. You're having to talk to people with different lives than what you have. You're trying new foods, you're asking new questions, and you're being exposed to things that are different than what you are on a day-to-day basis. And so when you're out and you're broadening your horizons, you actually have an easier time of being inspired. Now, this doesn't have to be, international. It can be the next town over. It can be the next state. All you have to do is be very deliberate on talking to new people, seeing new things, doing things you normally wouldn't do. So the University of Pittsburgh did this study on traveling, and what they said is it actually changes your brain because you're able to make new connections and you're able to make more cerebral matter, which indicates that you can be curious and you can be inspired by many more things. So when you are curious, what you do is you need to start from where you are now and go and explore. Start from where you are and go and say, how can I broaden my horizons? What can I do different? And when you're broadening your horizons, you need to keep track of all of the things that you're thinking about. So what I do, because I am a huge list taker, right? I have so many lists and notes, but I have what's called a curiosity notebook. And within this curiosity notebook, I have it divided into 3 sections. The first section, these are questions that I have that I'm thinking of. It's like, well, I'm really curious, what is the answer to this? Or I want to find out more about it. The next section I have is professions. Either professions I'm in, professions I'm curious about, things that I like or want to know more about. And then the third section, because I have 2 little girls, and it's very important to me that they develop this ability to be curious, is I have a whole list of topics that I'm wanting to introduce to them. So when you're starting to create a list of all of these things that you're curious by or you're inspired, what you need to do is you need to select one to then move forward into the next phase with. So after you're curious, what you do is you've selected your one topic. Now you go into what's called the growth mindset. Okay, the growth mindset. Now this was coined by Carol Dweck. And what it is when you are curious about something, or you're looking at it and you're saying, what do I do? If you've got the growth mindset, you force yourself to say, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to learn. A fixed mindset is when you encounter something and you don't know what to do and you're trying to investigate it more, is I don't know how to do this and I don't think I can. Or I've never started this and I'm too old to begin now. Or I can't be the best, so I'm not even going to try. The growth mindset has so much to do with how you're going to learn. So when you say, yes, I can learn this, I don't know how to do it yet, but I will. So if you go in with that mindset, when you're reading books about this topic, when you're researching articles, when you're watching YouTube videos, when you're joining different communities to ask people, when you have the growth mindset, you're able to absorb so much information. And this is where it gets really exciting. I love this part, to where there's no boundaries, that you can just run. What is it that you're exploring? What is it that, all of the things that you can be curious about that you're learning. And so when you have the growth mindset, everything is open. And that leads me to the next phase. So you're curious, and now you've got the growth mindset and you're learning. You're gonna go into the expertise phase. So when you're in the expertise phase, it doesn't necessarily mean you're an expert in the whole thing. It means that you are doing so that you can become an expert. So I'll use this analogy of snowboarding. Okay, so if we went into the curious phase, we're curious about what snowboarding is. We were in the research phase, and so we can watch YouTube videos of snowboarders. We can read articles on what are the best boards, what are the best boots. We can talk to people of how do you move your body. We can read different articles on what it is like with the snow, and then we can have different conversations on what it feels like when you're going that fast. And so it's not until you start snowboarding, until you start doing, that you actually know what it's like. You can research all day long, all week long, all month long, however long, but you won't know what it's like until you're on the slopes and you're going. And this is where your passion is a little bit vulnerable. Because when you start doing, what do you notice? You notice everybody else that is doing it, that's doing the same passion. And so you start to become a little self-conscious. You say, wow, they are really good. I don't know if I have the confidence to keep going. And this is where you've got to be careful. Because if you're constantly comparing, it will really damage your passion and it will slow your progress. So what you do is you have to experiment and innovate. So maybe you don't do your passion in the same way that everybody else does it. Maybe you take it in a whole different direction that you find is extremely fulfilling. So if you think of Pablo Picasso, he started out being this amazing classical artist, but it wasn't fulfilling. What he had to do was he had to do something different. He was still within that realm of his passion of being an artist and painting, but he created a whole movement of something no one has ever seen because he experimented and he innovated with his passion. And this is such a powerful thing. So when you're curious about something and then you're learning and then you start doing, the next part you will hit. And that is what's called roadblocks. So within roadblocks, this one's tricky because as a culture, we're really great at sharing when things are going well, at sharing when we're confident, at sharing when we're really excited about our passion because we're doing it. That's like that first video. You just get really pumped about sharing what you're doing with other people. But what's hard to share is when we're hitting the roadblocks. It doesn't come up in conversation like, hey, I cried for 4 hours last week because I was so frustrated and I can't figure this out and I'm doubting myself. When you hit roadblocks, this is when your passion is most likely to die. So kind of a scary statistic that was done. Stanford University did this whole study on talking to people about who's passionate about the careers that they're in, and only 13% of people said that they were passionate about their career. And in another study, 92% of people said that they hadn't accomplished their goals. Okay, isn't that a crazy statistic? So what this is you have all of these people that had these passions and they hit their roadblock. And then when they hit the roadblock, their passion died. What's interesting about the roadblocks is this is something that no matter your age, your profession, the country you're from, your ethnicity, whatever it is, everybody goes through it. All of us go through this same process. But when we are hitting the roadblocks, when we are hitting these really difficult times, we feel very alone in that because it's hard to see when other people are hitting the same thing. And so the video I'm going to show you next was at a time when my passion could have died. I'm within a multi-generational family business, right? And I am extremely passionate about the business, about our team, about the people and our partners that we're working with. And so for me to say that my passion was vulnerable here is quite accurate. Because last year I went through one of the biggest roadblocks I have ever encountered, bigger than what this year has provided. And it was the steepest uphill climb that I feel like I've ever had to take. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this video because then you know, how do I say this? When you see that other people hit roadblocks, you know that it's not just you.
I have to be smarter than what I am. This is so hard. And I have more to do. I don't know if I can do this over and over. Are the highs worth this? I don't know. This week has been so hard. I've been so angry and upset. But yet I don't know what to do next.
Okay, so for me that's a little heavy. But what this does is when you hit your roadblocks, it strengthens your resolve to keep going if you're able to push past. And so for me, it took about a month and a half for me to feel like I could push past any part of it. For me, this was quite a daunting experience. And so what you do when you hit roadblocks, because you're going to hit roadblocks over and over and over again, and that's all a part of the process. That's all a part of finding your passion and becoming more committed to your passion and getting better at your passion. And so then this leads me to the 5th step of the process. So we started off and you were curious about something, and then you're researching, and then you're doing, and then you hit a roadblock. And then from there, you have to repeat the process and be curious about it again. Okay, you don't have to be curious about the whole thing, because if your roadblock is really difficult, it will be extremely hard to jump right back in. And so you find a part of your passion to be curious in. So it's not the whole thing, but you zone in on one area. And how you start to become curious is you broaden your horizons. Get outside of your routines. Get outside of the normal things that you're exposed to. Open yourself up to new inspiration so that you can be curious about a part. And so this whole process, it just keeps going. No matter, like I said, no matter how old you are, where you're from, we go through this process of finding our passion the same as everybody. And it just continues. No matter how good you are at your passion, you'll still have to continue this process. So, what are your passions? Where are you in the process? And how determined are you to push past the roadblocks? Okay, so I ask you again, what would your life feel like if you had more passion in it? And how are you going to do that?